Everybody loves top 10 lists. Let's do Optimus Prime. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone. I figure for this Talkin Toys with Darth Devious, I'm going to do a top 10 list of my personal favorite Optimus Prime toys. Now, there are one or two I would have liked to have added to this list, but I don't have them. So if you question why wasn't this one on the list, probably because I don't have it, or I just feel these other ones are better. This is my personal list, mind you. And, you know, hopefully we can get a good discussion going with all this once it's all said and done, and I can get other people's opinions on their top 10. I know I haven't done a video for a while. I haven't been feeling too great. I do have some health issues that I don't understand what's going on yet, but hopefully I'll find out. So maybe I'll get back to doing more regular videos. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I figured I'd do this. What the heck? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing my desk back around to where it was for my regular reviews, and I'm going to give each figure its due. Now, there's actually going to be 12 figures in this list. The other two are honorable mentions. They'll be shown first, obviously. And then we'll get right into the top 10. So stay tuned. I'm going to reset things up, and we'll get into this list. Now, it wouldn't be fair to do a top 10 list without throwing in at least a couple honorable mentions. And these two almost made the list if there wasn't just a few figures that I felt were better overall. This one being the Hunt for the Decepticons Voyager Optimus Prime, which really is basically just a shrunk down version of the Leader Class Optimus Prime. And I think they did a great job because this is a smaller version that you can carry around with you. But I just feel the Leader Class, as you'll see, is the superior version. Though this isn't bad. You know, if you don't have it, I highly recommend finding this one and adding it to your collection, because they did a real good job with the engineering on this. It shows, just like this one here, the Evasion Mode Optimus Prime, which you can see I've modded, made him a faceplate, you can see there, and I painted him up more how I would like him to be, more G1 colored and stuff like that. But besides that, both of these have great engineering. I mean, he turns into that long-nosed truck from the first three films, and yet still has the almost movie-accurate robot mode at the same time. Whereas this one has a fairly robot-accurate, movie-accurate robot mode from parts of some of the movie, but yet turns into the G1 truck. They did great engineering, but I just find, as much as I love these figures, that the others on my list, they just rank higher.
Number 10.
So yes, coming in at number 10 on my list, the figure that started it all for Optimus Prime, G1. This is actually the Hasbro reissue from a few years ago. I don't have an actual G1, but you know what? That's fine. I don't care. Though I did take a Junker G2 and switch out the smokestack so I can have the long smokestacks on my G1 Optimus Prime. But yeah, I mean, any kid who grew up in the 80s, if you were a Transformers fan, this was the must-have figure for you. You had to have Optimus Prime. Some people say, well, what about Megatron? No, Megatron was in a different vein, you could say. Most kids wanted the heroic leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime. And you know, for its age, being a toy that actually came out in the 70s in Japan as Convoy, this isn't a bad design. Now, yeah, it lacks basic articulation. It's got the knees and the arms do move and stuff. It's decent for its time and pales into what they have today, but for pure nostalgic love, you have to give it to the G1 Optimus Prime.
Number 9.
So coming in at number 9, we have the Classics Optimus Prime. Well, you know, when they decided we're going to re-release some of these old characters we had, and we're just going to give them updates. This was one of the first ones we got, Classics Optimus Prime, and it's not bad. Yeah, I added a repro label there because why not? Why not? And he's not a bad design. There are better figures that have come out since, but still, for going back to the drawing board and giving us a new Optimus Prime figure, this one wasn't too shabby, and it has a nice design. It does have a little bit much kibble, even though this becomes another gun, but I like keeping it back there. But still, all in all, not bad, and we did get an Ultra Magnus version out of it, so there was that, plus a few others. I do have the Nemesis Prime version. Both Ultra Magnus and Nemesis Prime right now are in Commander armor from Fans Project, so that's why they're not here. But he doesn't have armor. Why? He doesn't need it. He's Optimus freaking Prime. But yeah, some may question why he's not higher on the list. As my list goes on, you'll see where each fits in for me. And this was cool. I didn't get it when it first came out. In fact, the first one of the classics I ever got was Jetfire back then. But then I did, come to my senses and seek this out, and like, I need that Optimus Prime. And he's been in my collection for a few years now, and there you go. So yeah, Classics Optimus Prime. Can't go wrong with a classic.
Number 8.
Next up on my list, and the reason why I chose him, even though he's very tiny and he's very, the Fall of Cybertron Optimus Prime. Now, a lot of people didn't care for the Fall of Cybertron figures too much. This one I liked, and I liked him a lot more than the War for Cybertron Optimus Prime, which I do have, but he is not on this list. He is nowhere close to being on this list. War for Cybertron Optimus Prime is a paneling nightmare, both in transformation and look. He is simple. He turned into this wonderful fist of a truck, and he just looks cool. Now, you could see, yeah, I did go through and I detailed the crap out of him. I mean, look at his backpack here. Just look at that. I picked out the engines and stuff, and the fake tires. I did all that. Why? Because I wanted him to look his best, and to me, this is how he looks. Is he a perfect figure? No, that's why he's only number 8 on the list. But still, for me, he is a nice, decent little Optimus Prime figure. He does what he needs to do. He looks the way he does. He looks like he does in the game. I'll give him that. He has some great articulation, including an ab ball joint. Where do we see that? I don't see too many Transformers with an ab ball joint. So, there he is. Is he perfect? No. Is he cool? In my book, hell yeah. He is a nice, decent Optimus Prime figure, so he comes in at number 8.
Number 7.
Coming in at number 7, and some people may question my sanity as to why he's actually that low on the list, is the first of the Masterpiece figures that we got. The old MP1 mold. This is actually the Walmart version that came out just after Takara released theirs in Japan. Why is he lower on the list for as amazing as he is? Because he is an amazing figure. Why? He has not aged well to me. I just think that we have a better version out now. He is far too heavy. There is such a thing as being too heavy when you're a figure, because he is a pain to pose. The ratchet joints are either way too tight, or there is not enough clicks in between. Look at how I have his shoulders. The only other click that you get on his shoulders puts them too close to his body. He's a great figure, And I love him to death, and he was the first Masterpiece figure I ever got, probably the first Masterpiece figure most of us ever got. But weighing in at, 6, 7, 8 pounds, or however much he weighs, he is too heavy for his own feet at times. And though he stands solid, the ball joints on the ankles on mine have somewhat deteriorated over the years, and they are prone to falling off a lot. But still, he has some great things about him. I mean, he's got pistons on his arms, hands, the backs of his legs. Those are great touches. He's got the panels that flip up in his arms for communications. That's a great touch. The light-up matrix in the chest that they did was great. So when I first got him, this was the version that came with the gray gun. Somehow, during one of my moves, his gray gun vanished. I have never found it. I don't know what happened to it. Luckily, somebody sent me the blue gun that came later on with another release of this mold, to which I went through and painted black to make it look more like it's supposed to. I missed the gray version. I really liked how the gray version looked with him, even though it wasn't screen accurate. This is nice too. So there you go. MP1. Great figure. Not one of my top fives though.
Number 6.
And coming in at number 6, we have Optimus Prime from Robots in Disguise, the 2001 series, also known as Fire Convoy in Japan. Why do I like this? He is an awesome fire truck, and he turns into this gigantic beast of a robot, but yet you don't have to have him as this gigantic beast of a robot. He has a smaller mode. And then if you have the Robots in Disguise Ultra Magnets, which I do have, you can turn him into Ultra Prime, which is even bigger, which is something of a nightmare to do, but still. I like Fire Convoy. This Optimus Prime is really awesome, really cool. I wasn't a huge fan of the Robots in Disguise show, I will not lie, but a good figure is a good figure, and this is really a great Optimus Prime. He's not perfect because he is a huge parts former. I like all this chest, his head, and the back of his ladder here. That's all one piece. And then you've got his boots here. They're another piece. The legs, this part, and the part that's under here is all the original robot mold. His arms here, as you can see, the big arms just plug in over the small arms, and there you go. But still, what you end up with is just an absolutely fantastic looking Optimus Prime. He even has a matrix in his chest there. Just really, altogether, a nice figure. And if you don't have it, you might want to try and find this one. This one is a nice one to have on your list. I mean, all these are nice to have on your list.
Number 5.
And coming in at number 5, beginning our top 5, is Alternity Convoy, otherwise known as Optimus Prime, the red version. There is a black version of this as well, but I like the red version. And the Alternity line is rather unique amongst Transformers. It's a Japanese-only line, pretty much, and you got really interesting takes on some classic characters. Bumblebee's a really nice one. I really love this Optimus Prime. The paint job on him is superb. He does have his flaws, but just for his uniqueness alone makes him one of my top 5 favorites, because he really is a cool figure. But he does suffer from the one thing that the MP1 mold also suffers from. He's got a little bit too much die cast. This backpack here is all a big chunk of die cast, and it tends to make him a little back heavy, and the ratchets in his thighs are really not strong enough to keep him from wanting to topple back. He does have a nice heel spur, but as you can see, you start messing with him and he goes back. But still, his design is fantastic. His look is fantastic. The car mode is spectacular with nice rubber tires, looking more like a real world car. Taking cues from probably the Alternator Binaltech line, but made a little smaller. I mean, I have a representation of pretty much all the Alternative molds they made. I have Bumblebee, I have Megatron, I have Optimus, and I have Starscream. There were the other two Seekers, Skywarp and Thundercracker. I don't know if I'm ever going to get them, probably not. There were different versions of Megatron. There was a silver version and the black version. I have the black version. There were different versions of Optimus. There's a red version of Bumblebee as Cliffjumper, but still. For this list's purpose, he comes in at number 5 because he is fairly unique in my collection of Optimus Primes. He holds a special place for being different, sort of like the Fire Convoy does. But yeah. So here you go, Alternative Optimus Prime. If you want a really cool Optimus Prime figure, something that's different, that goes outside the box a little bit, not a bad one to have. So, number 5.
Number 4.
Coming in at number 4, a Bayformer. I think this is the first Bayformer on the list, but what a Bayformer he is. It is Revenge of the Fallen Leader Class Optimus Prime, and this mold has been redone so many times now because there's a version with abs, there's the Jetwing, all different versions, the Buster Prime. This is the one that started it, and this is the one I have. So this is good enough for me. I do have Jetfire from the film. I have displayed this at one point in time, armored up. I can't remember how to do it anymore. It's been so long, but maybe one day I'll go back and armor him back up with Jetfire. But still, the first movie Optimus Prime that we got from Transformers 2007 didn't look anything like what was in the film. So they went back, had a rethink, and they engineered this. And it is very close to being on model. It's not perfect, but for a toy that actually transforms and you can play with and do stuff with, it is pretty damn close. Since then, we've gotten horrible versions of Optimus Prime. I have the AOE Leader Class Optimus Prime. That is one big shell around a robot. This is not. This thing legitimately is one of the most frustrating Transformers to transform, and I know a lot of people that agree with me on that. But the results of both modes are just so fantastic. The truck mode is nearly spot on to the film. Robot mode, spot on to the film. He talks.
I am Optimus Prime.
What more do you want? So that's why he comes in on the top 5 of my list, but he's not close to being any of my top 3 favorites.
Number 3.
We start off my top 3 with the only entry in here from the animated line. And I am a sucker for translucent figures, and as you can see here, we have Windblade Optimus Prime from the very last episode of Transformers Animated. This is the only time you saw him like this. This was a Japanese only release. This is a Takara only figure, and it's just fantastic. I mean, the metallic flake paint on the blue and the red and the silver is just fantastic. The translucent plastic of varying shades just give this guy something that the regular Voyager was missing. Now, the regular Voyager is still a great figure to have. It does have some problems, but this version is just beautiful. This is eye candy. And what more do you want? He looks great. He poses really well. The animated line were some of the best figures we got in the 2000s. There are better figures in the animated line than there is in the classics line. generations, all that crap. This is where I think Hasbro was at its peak, or getting close to its peak. I think the next figure will show where they actually did peak before they started on the decline they're on now. Let's not say that Combiner Wars and stuff like that isn't good, but I don't think it's the best that Hasbro has done in recent years. But Hasbro and Takara, when they had the animated line, they had so many figures that were so on model to that show, which with the style of that show was not easy to do. And they nailed it again and again with some of the figures. Some of them weren't perfect, but some of them were awesome. This one has a special place for me because it's just a fantastic looking version of a great figure from a great show.
Number 2.
And here we are to the penultimate figure on my list. First edition Optimus Prime from the Transformers Prime line. This is where Hasbro peaked, but this is also where they made a huge misstep. When they first showed us figures from the Transformers Prime line, we got the first edition line, which became very limited, became a nightmare for collectors to get. But what was sad is, with the exception, in my opinion, of the Viacon and RC, the other figures were so on model to the show that it was a shame that they decided to go back and give us the less accurate versions under the Robots in Disguise line that they had. But still, I have all the first edition molds, which I am very happy to have. The Bumblebee I have from Transformers Prime is only the first edition. I have both the New York Comic Con version and the regular version. I have 2 Cliff Jumpers, the regular version and a Terracon version. I do have a first edition RC, though it's the New York Comic Con pink version. Still, I don't think she was as close to the show as she could have been. Viacon has too many. That's why I call it a KibbleCon. The RID Viacon was spot on and very clean in its transformation. However, the 2 molds that absolutely perfectly nailed it were Optimus Prime and Bulkhead. If you do not have a first edition Optimus Prime or a first edition Bulkhead, you need to do yourself a favor and track them down, because they are so fantastic in how they execute both modes. You are never going to get any closer to an on-model figure from Transformers Prime. That whole debacle with Hasbro just getting rid of the first edition line like they did, just tossing it to the wind, really, it was dumb, because this figure right here is one of the greatest Optimus Prime figures from a cartoon show ever. It is nearly on model. Yes, I did add paint to his head to make it more on model, but his just look in both modes is fantastic. And then he has great articulation on top of that. What were they thinking with giving us that other Optimus Prime? This was perfect. They nailed it the first time and threw it away, basically. Beautiful figure. Fantastic figure. One of my absolute favorites, and one that has been constantly on display since I got him. Hence why he's got a lot of dust on him, but sometimes hard to clean some of these guys. But still, first edition Optimus Prime. If you can track this down, and this is one of the first releases where Under the Doors is actually painted. So I know the second release they did do this. They cheaped out on some of the paint, but still, even if you get that version, his robot mode is so spectacular that you owe it to yourself as an Optimus Prime fan to have one of the greatest Optimus Prime figures ever. Some people may argue the point with this. This thing is beautiful. He looks so much like he does on the cartoon. And Transformers Prime was one of the best Transformers shows to come out in a long time. Animated was great. Transformers Prime was better. It just had so much more going for it. I wish it had lasted longer. I'm grateful we got 3 years out of it. It was a fantastic show, fantastic cast, fantastic voice actors, everything. This figure epitomizes everything that was great with that show.
Number 1.
And coming in at number 1, one of my most favorite versions of Optimus Prime that has come out in recent years, the MP10 version of Masterpiece Optimus Prime. Takara took a lot of stuff that they learned from the original MP1 mold. They scaled them down to scale more in with the upcoming figures, so that most figures that have come out since all scale around him. And they gave us what is to date probably the most definitive version of Optimus Prime you could ever have in your collection. He just looks everything the way he should be. Everything. The head is just fantastically designed. The chrome on him is nicely done. The paint everywhere is nicely done. The translucent bits in his waist, very nice. The way his matrix chamber opens up, just fantastic. You know? I have trouble sometimes opening that, but I think I've got too big of fat fingers. But yeah, he is just a damn near perfect version of Optimus Prime. Now this is the Hasbro release, the Toys R Us release. There were only a few minor differences between this release and the one Takara gave us. Now they both came with the trailer, which trailer's in my display case. That's where it stays for now. Came with roller, all the same accessories, everything. The difference is the color of the blue. The blue is a brighter blue here, which is more, to me, more cartoon-like. The eyes are slightly different. The Takara version, for some reason, the Takara version's eyes look dead and lifeless, whereas his just pop. There's just something about this guy. Look at that. And also, for some reason, and this is really weird, Takara never painted these lights up here. Why? I don't know. But other than that, there's not really too many differences between the Hasbro version and the Takara version. So I am happy to have the Hasbro version in my collection. I am happy to have this figure at all. They didn't have to give us another Masterpiece Optimus Prime, but they did. They went through, they redesigned it, they made it better. He's not as tall, he's not as heavy, but that works because he is better articulated. He can hold better poses because he is not overweighed with die-cast. Die-cast is a great thing to have in figures, but not to the detriment of the figure's stability. Which is why MP1 was down at number 7 and he is at number 1. If you collect nothing else but Masterpiece figures, you need this in your collection. He is the definitive version of Optimus Prime. He is damn near perfect. And he just fills that spot in my collection. He looks so great with all his Autobot friends that I have in my display case. He is not the biggest one in the display case. Ultra Magnus, Star Saber, and a couple of Dinobots really fill out the back. But as far as the other Autobot cars go, he is perfect for their leader. So, really, you got to ask yourself, what more could be at the top of a top 10 list? What other Optimus Prime figure could be on there? MP10, the greatest Optimus Prime figure that has ever been produced. So there we are, everyone. These are my personal top 10 favorite Optimus Prime figures. Some really great ones on here, and as you saw, I did add a bit of paint to a few of them here and there because it's what I do. But yeah, I want to know your top 10 favorite Optimus Prime figures if you are a fan of Optimus Prime. You know, list them down below in the comments section. Join us in Darth Devious' dungeon on Facebook where we can talk about it there. Do your own video of your favorite top 10. Yeah. So, yeah, that's about it. Each one of these figures has something special that I like about them, and they're my favorite. Are some of them the best? To some people, not really, but to me, they are. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and let's just keep up the dialogue. Let's keep this going. Till next time.